Guys, what's up? It's Dark here, and today I'm doing a video I thought I would never do. I'm doing an opinion video, I guess you would say. And the reason I'm doing it is over the last 2 weeks, I can't believe some of the videos I've seen coming out with the fucking hate train towards Legion, WoD, with the Nostalrius shutdown, and now the legacy server, let's call it Uprising. So I wanted to make a video and give you as much information so that you can make up your own mind on it. Now, I'm not trying to be pro Blizzard, I'm not trying to be against Blizzard. Some things that I'll talk about I will stick up for Blizzard, no doubt, and some things they've done poorly. But realistically, things aren't as bad as they seem, and after watching some of the top streamers and top YouTubers at the moment and going through some of the comments after their videos, we already have a pretty toxic community in WoW, and all this shit is only making it fucking worse. So as I said, I wanted to make a video and I wanted to give you enough information to make up your own mind. So starting off, guys, let's start with looking at raids. And let's look at the length of time in between the last raiding tier and the following expansion. So as you can see here, looking at Warlords of Draenor to the now release date of Legion, the 30th of August, there's a gap of 435 days. So no doubt about it, WoD to Legion is winning the fucking timepiece. Now, what I'm gonna say here for Blizzard is that they are damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. If Blizzard put out Legion earlier with all the fucking hate that is already circling a game that is in alpha at the moment, could you just imagine what our fantastic little community would do? They would lose their fucking minds. Instead, Blizzard say, you know what? To give you the game we want, we need to make it the 30th of August. And our little community loses their fucking mind already again. Damned if they do, and damned if they don't. Personally, I'd rather wait and get a really good fucking game that's polished and finished, rather than have it early and have it full of issues. We can all remember the WoD launch and what happened with servers. I'd like to avoid all of that stuff again. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. I don't want to make this video drag out forever. I do want to try and get to the point. So the next thing up, guys, is looking at raids per expansion. Now you can see in vanilla, hands down, it was the winner with the Burning Crusade. And if we look, I'm going to try and give you as much comparison from vanilla all the way through to WoD as I can. It just depends on what information I had access to. So if we look at vanilla, we had 9 raids in vanilla. We had LBRS, UBRS, ONI, MC, BWL, ZG, Zalgrub, AQ20, AQ40, and Nax. Okay, so we had the 9 raids and we had 74 bosses in total. Now we can see on the graph there is a decline. Yep, there's a decline to 3 what we currently have in WoD. Highmaul, Blackrock Foundry, and Hellfire Citadel, where we have 3 raids for 30 bosses in total. Now, of course, the comparison from start to finish, as I said, and my 2 cents, okay? My 2 cents in regards to my opinion as what has happened. Okay, so without a doubt, you can honestly say that as we've progressed, graphics-wise, encounter-wise, difficulty, mechanics, everything has changed. The game has changed. Now, if you didn't play vanilla or even the Burning Crusade, a large majority of those bosses, despite things like Four Horsemen or Cthulhu or Calthla Sunstrider in Tempest Keep and pretty much everything in Sunwell, most of those bosses had 1 to 4 mechanics outside of those encounters to fucking deal with. They weren't hard, especially with what we've got today. Now, examples from vanilla, if you didn't play that, and I've got a shit ton of notes, sorry guys, which is what I'm reading off the screen. Ragnaros, who was the last boss in MC from vanilla, he had 3 mechanics. He had Hammer of Rag, which was a range knockback. He had Wrath of Ragnaros, was Taste the Flames of Sulfuron, which was a melee knockback. And he had Sons of Flame, which after 3 minutes, he'd summon 8 fire elementals or Sons of the Flame. And after 90 seconds, if they were dead or alive, Rag would come back to the fight. That was the last tier boss. That was fucking it. 3 mechanics, 2 knockbacks, and some adds. Could you imagine if we had 9 raids in WoD and that was the end boss? People would lose their fucking minds. If we take it to the next step, which was Nefarian, who was the last boss in Blackwing Lair, and it's actually one of my favourite bosses ever, it pushed the envelope a little more with 3 stages. Stage 1 had 42 Drachnoids that you had to kill, and they had different colours with different abilities, red, blue, green, black, and bronze. Then there was Stage 2, which had class calls, and this was really cool, where Druids would get stuck in cat form, warriors, even the tank would get stuck in berserker stance and things like that. And then at stage 3, 20% HP, the 42 Drachnoids you killed at the start would come back as bone constructs. But again, that was the last tier boss, and that was it. Again, if we had that today, people would lose their fucking mind. So Blizzard, obviously, they got, things got harder in AQ40 and Nax, but for most part, this is what we were dealing with in vanilla raiding. Now, if we move to WoD with something like Mythic Archimonde, who probably has more mechanics than MC and BWL if you put them together, and I think off the top of my head, I haven't seen Mythic Archimonde a lot, only like 3 or 4 times. I think there's about 22 abilities or mechanics that you have to watch out for in that single fight, but don't quote me on that. So bosses and raid tiers are becoming far more complex, and I don't honestly think it's fair or we can expect to have 6 to 9 raids with the level of detail that Mythic Archimonde or Mythic Blackhand has in the time frame that our community is wanting them. Now, I may be way off there, but that's just my 2 cents. I think, what we're getting is a higher quality over quantity, if you will. Now, something that's really interesting if we start sort of looking into statistics and things like that, if we start looking at world first kills, now this is the top rating percentages, obviously. Vanilla and TBC actually hold the longest times for world first kills, which I found quite interesting. Now, Vanilla, you can make arguments like there was the large time to level, there was all the bugs in Vanilla, and the fact that you really had to work hard to kill bosses at the start with just flat out inferior gear. And then to take it a step further, you had 40 people with flat out inferior gear. Gearing has changed so dramatically from vanilla to WoD with min-maxing and things like that. In vanilla, that really didn't exist. It wasn't that the game was complex or harder. It was the fact that you were going in there with inferior gear and you just whack your head into that raid over and over and over. And that really leads to why there's such high numbers for days alive for bosses at the start here. Now, when I did this research and I looked at this data, it certainly wasn't what I thought. I thought Blackhand and Archimonde Mythic would have had higher numbers. But you can see on this graph here, Ragnaros had 151 days alive. Kale was up there from Tempest Keepers, the next highest days alive raid boss. And you can see we've pretty much been on a downhill slope ever since, and Mythic Archimonde and Blackhand have started to take the line back up in the right direction. However, this is again the 1% of raiding, and obviously the raiders have got far fucking better in today's game than they were in Vanilla's game. Again, my 2 cents. Now, if we look a little deeper into WoD as an example in regards to world first info, so Mythic Imperator was 11 days alive, Mythic Blackhand spent 17 days alive, and when he died it was on the 601 attempt. Mythic Archimonde took 23 days to down and took 472 attempts. Now, I guess the attempts are the big factor here in regards to the challenge that comes from these bosses. And again, these are world first numbers that we're looking at. If I tried to find some averages to see what I could find, and all I could really get access to was things off wowprogress.com. So again, it's not 100% accurate due to all guilds not actually recording kills. But we can see in regards to the average number of players who have killed these bosses in WoD, Mythic Imperator 5.87%, Mythic Blackhand 1.06%, and Mythic Archimonde 3.03%. Now this is all pre-patch or pre-nerfs or whatever, but it's really interesting to see that the numbers are still that small for guilds that are managing in a raiding context to actually complete this content. Now, it's fair enough, not everyone actually raids, not everyone does mythic content, but it's still interesting from a stat-wise. Now, if we take averages for all guilds and all levels, what I could find was I could go back to Yogg Saron from Wrath of the Lich King, and we could bring it up to Archimonde now. Now, again, sorry, I've looked at heroic difficulties, 10-man and 25-man, and then into mythic difficulties. And you can see the line in regards to people that have actually, or the player percentage that have actually managed to kill these bosses is still going down. So our raiding content is still extremely challenging from these figures. Now, if we get off raiding because not everyone raids, and we look at dungeons, because realistically everyone does dungeons at some point or another. Now, the number of unique dungeons per expansion, vanilla, again, obviously setting the bar extremely high at 20 instances in that expansion, or in that release, sorry, which is huge. Then we've been on a pretty steady decline ever since, and Legion is pushing that back up to 10. Now, Blizzard probably don't have much of an excuse here. They have dropped the ball in regards to dungeon content. You're going to get no argument from me in that. Their answer in WoD was to introduce time walking, and that was met with both positivity and negativity. The negativity was that people just saw that it was recycled content and an attempt at a quick fix for content, whereas other people who hadn't played those expansions or enjoyed those dungeons got to go back and do them. So again, I don't have a defense for Blizzard in this one. As you can see, that line has really dropped off, but it appears they're trying to address it in Legion, so I am hopeful. I will say, however, though, that the most fun I've ever had in dungeons is MOP and WoD, and that is due to challenge modes. But again, that's the experience that I created for myself in-game and the friends that I made through that process. I think you can realistically have fun in any expansion. It just depends on what you do and what nostalgic value you take from that. Now, if we look at total bosses per expansion, per dungeon, you can see WoD, who is copying it pretty hard at the moment, actually gave us more bosses in dungeons than MOP did. MOP gave us 18 dungeon bosses, where WoD gave us 31 dungeon bosses, and that is not including time walking events. But obviously, as the trade-off from that is that everybody is still seeing it as a downward slope from where we started. Now, we have to acknowledge that we've got other things. Blizzard can't put all their focus into just raids and dungeons. What they've tried to do is they've tried to cast a wider player interest net. So we got things like more battlegrounds. We got LFR, we got LFG, we got garrisons, we got shipyards. Regardless of if you hate them or not, we got these things. I think I mentioned Pokemon battles, but we got these things. And the idea, I guess, Blizzard trying to cast that wider player base interest net, and it's not going to please everyone. You are never going to be able to please everyone, but I guess they're trying to capture as much of a market as they can. So if we move on to sub numbers, which is always a very popular topic with everybody, there's lots of forum posts that I've seen lately. There's lots of videos on YouTube that I've seen lately that garrisons, shipyards, and lack of content are the big reason for the sub drops. And you know what? That is possibly spot on. It very well could be. The thing is, we don't know. There are so many factors that can go into drop subs. You can see WoW was in its peak at Wrath of the Lich King and the Starter Cataclysm. And maybe this game was hot as fuck then. Maybe it was the topic on every gamer's fucking mind. And then they played it and they went, and they found a new game and moved on with their life. Maybe we're the sad ones that have just stuck there since the beginning. And I'll probably never play another game. I love this game. But not everyone is like that. So we lose subs over that. Some people that play WoW, guys and girls, they meet other people. It can happen. And then they quit because they find the sun outside and they want to go and do things. We're moving towards a much more health-conscious society these days. People aren't wanting to spend as much time in front of the computer, so they leave WoW because it's a bane on their existence or making them a fat cunt. There can be so many reasons in regards to why sub numbers can drop off. We cannot just put it to the fact that it's because there was 3 raids, that there wasn't enough dungeons, and that garrisons were in game. They are probably largely contributing factors, but I'm bound to say that there are other factors in people's lives that are steering them away from WoW and not just garrisons, as some of the videos that I've seen. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, guys, is Nostalrius and the legacy server Uprising, I'm going to call it. So let's get real. Let's look at this, because I got pretty worked up about this when I saw some of these videos. First off, I'm going to say I'm a huge vanilla fanboy. I fucking love vanilla. I raided in a top US guild in vanilla. I raided Monday to Friday. I played about 70 to 80 hours a week. It is fair to say I did not fucking see the sun, and that's probably why I'm still as pale as I am now. I'm transparent as fuck, but I lived on this game, and I loved it, and I love the memories I have from that. I love everything about that. But you know what makes it special? The nostalgic memories attached to that. I don't actually want to go back and relive it because it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same people and it's not going to have the same experiences. But some people do, and that's fair enough. So let's look at those people. Nostalrius. It had 800,000 accounts created on it from the start, and that's awesome. That's nuts. At the end, it had 150,000 people playing. So let's take Blizzard's shit subscriber numbers at the moment, and let's put that 150,000 into it. So that's 3% of the current player base. Now there's a current petition that's been signed by 200,000 people saying they want legacy servers. So let's say there's 4% of the current player base now wanting legacy servers. Now we've got streamers and YouTubers vowing to stream it and make videos for it. And what's that going to last? 1, 2, 3, 5 years? I would honestly put 5 years max that would last on it. So let's look at it from a company's point of view and not a selfish player that doesn't give a shit. We just want what we want. Let's look at it from a fiscal business point of view. Are you going to waste all these resources, all this money, put a whole team together for a 3 to 5 year venture? Is it smart? It's probably fucking not. If we put it at 5 years, it's still not a smart business decision, and players don't care because players are going to go back. They're going to say they want it, and they're going to play for 1 year. They're going to play for 2 years. They're going to play for 5 years. Some may even play for 10 years. But in the end of the day, they're going to go, I got my nostalgic fix. That was cool. I'm fucking off now. And then the community slowly dwindles away. And they don't care because they got their fix and they left. But meanwhile, the company that spent all that money to uprun that, it's not like Blizzard struggle for money. But it's not a smart business decision if you look at it that way in regards to 4% of your player base demanding this. So Blizzard have said a number of things on this over the years, and I went and found as many as I could. There aren't enough people interested in utilising this idea long term to justify the necessary costs to bring it about. And as I said, this is true. It's 4% of the current player base. If you want to be generous, let's say it's 5%, but it's still not enough. Secondly, Blizzard have said they feel the idea is counter to the nature of MMOs. The non-progression equates to the stagnation and eventual boredom in the game. Now I would happily bet if we got a vanilla legacy server that I would not be surprised if after 5 years I went to those forums and I saw a post from someone saying, can we please have a new raid for vanilla? And right then I would want to fucking kill myself. But I would not be surprised if it came about. And the other thing that's going to open up from this can of worms is if they get a vanilla legacy server, people are going to want a Burning Crusade one. People are going to want a Wrath one. People are going to want a Kata one. People are going to want an MOP one. And people might say, what the fuck do I care about it? What's wrong with that? The problem is, from a business point of view, again, it cannibalizes your whole product because you are now spreading your entire player population from the retail version that you are pushing and developing to one direction, and you are spreading them all out through the past, which it also means that our server populations, for those of us that are playing retail, are going to drastically reduce. So things like PvP become worse, raiding becomes worse, everything becomes worse. I don't understand how. I don't know if people don't look at the scope of this or what happens, but then again, we're going to have more problems that have come from that. So I've gone to Legacy because I wanted to finish up my Nax gear. So I've got my full tier 3 and I've got Corrupted Ashbringer. But now Blizzard, I want to take my vanilla Legacy character and I want to transfer it to my retail account and level it up because I've got Corrupted Ashbringer now. Or I've got a Tish. All of this stuff is bound to happen. It is opening a door to infinite bullshit. So next up, Blizzard have said the original game code does not exist in that form anymore. All the old data has been replaced with newer data and not archived for later use. There is no switch to flip on for the realms to roll back years of patches and changes. Now, I'm not computer literate at all. I just like to play the game and turn it on. So I have no idea how much truth there is to that, but that is what has been said. So again, we're allocating resources to rewrite basically all the code for a game that we have moved on from. Again, it's not money well spent because we're throwing money in a backwards direction instead of a forwards direction. And the last Blizzard specific reference that I could find that I wanted to share was back from February 21 in 2008, and we were at one time internally discussing the possibility fairly seriously. However, the long-term interest in continued play on them couldn't justify the extremely large amount of development and support resources it would take to implement and maintain them. We'd effectively be developing and supporting two different games. So it's pretty much exactly what I said. You are cannibalizing your whole market, and trust me guys, people would just want more. We're in a community where we give an inch, we want a mile, and that is just how it works. That is people in general. So I've probably gone a little bit pro Blizzard on this, but I've just been really pissy with all the videos that I've seen lately and all the fucking hate that has gone out for a game that is in alpha, that is still in development, and we really know very little about. In the end of the day, it is just a game. If you don't like it, don't fucking play it. But we really need to stop trying to drag everyone down into our little fucking hate train, because it doesn't do anything good. It's not going to be productive. It's not going to help. And some of these larger YouTubers that have all this power really need to pull their heads out of their asses. So I don't know if this is channel suicide making this video, but fuck it. As I said, I felt compelled to make it. I wanted to make it, and I couldn't believe some of the shit I was saying. Hopefully you've got enough info now to make up your own mind. Some of you may think I'm an absolute bellend, and that's fine. I can live with that, but I made this channel to do whatever the fuck I want, and this is whatever the fuck I wanted to do. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I'll be interested to hear them, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya.